Around an inch of accumulation. Down to 17 below tonight, a light north wind, a decrease.
Good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Really great to have you along.
From the storm center.
Okay. We're locked and loaded here. Let's get going.
107.9. If you're in the Sioux Falls Metro, try us at FM 105.1. Callow, News Talk 1320, and now at 105.1. The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense, no prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show this Wednesday morning, February 12th. Great to have you along. This was an incredible story yesterday. Mark Fogel has been detained in Russia since 2021, and he was returned to the United States yesterday. He was a history teacher working at the Anglo-American School in Moscow, and he was there and serving a 14-year sentence. He was arrested back in 2021 at a Russian airport for possession of drugs. Sounds worse than it was. It was medical marijuana, which he had been prescribed. So he had a small amount of medical marijuana. That was not enough, though, to stop the Russians from throwing him into prison. 14 years, I think, was the sentence. And it was hard labor, 14 years. And he was released. Donald Trump working then with Russia to get Fogel released. 14-year prison sentence in August of 2021. And did you see the photos of him and Trump? You may, in fact, they're on Fox News channel right now. Fogel praising the Trump administration for what they were doing, putting his arm, big smile on his face, draped with the American flag, putting his arm around Donald Trump at one point as they were talking. So there were pictures, video posted by the White House on social media of him as he walked off the plane, his first time on U.S. soil, then in a number of years, smiling, raising his fist. And the White House said on X, Mark Fogel is back. Promises made, promises kept. So the Fogel family had been working with Donald Trump for some period of time, trying to get him returned. Fogel is from Pennsylvania. So he met with Donald Trump at the White House. And Fogel said, I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. The senators and representatives that passed legislation in my honor, they got me home. They are heroes, he said. And he said, I am in awe of what they all did. And he said he feels like the luckiest man on earth right now. One can only imagine. Can you imagine this? Oftentimes I try to put myself in the shoes of, folks that are making headlines, and Fogel has touched my heart in the way that he is just the relief at being back to the United States, of being secured, being released. And his family said, we are beyond grateful, relieved, and overwhelmed that after more than 3 years of detention, our father, husband, and son, Mark Fogel, is finally coming home. They had released a statement, the family did. And they said, thanks to the unwavering leadership of President Trump, Mark will soon be back on American soil, free where he belongs. This has been the darkest and most painful period of our lives, but today we begin to heal. And Mark Fogel's mother is, she said she was expressing her relief and gratitude to Donald Trump. And she said that Donald Trump had promised me that he would get him out, and he kept his promise. She said, I can't thank him enough, she said of Donald Trump. So she had met with Trump before the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, which you'll remember because that was when Donald Trump was shot in the ear. And she asked Trump to not forget her son's name. And he told her then that he would do what he could to bring him home. And she said of their meeting at Butler, she said, I met with President Trump. He was just as cordial as he could be. And you hear this from all of these folks who meet, those who are not, have their souls, poisoned with hatred for Trump. You hear this from all of these folks who meet Donald Trump. He's just as cordial as could be. And folks are, oftentimes shocked by that. She said, he told me 3 different times, if I get in, I'll get him out. And I really think he's been instrumental. So she said she wanted to thank Trump profusely for all of his work in bringing her son home. And because she didn't know about this was underway. She didn't know about it. They were in negotiations. You're going in, and there was, I think, Russian prisoners that had, there was, I believe, if I saw this correctly yesterday, there was a prisoner exchange that facilitated this. And so all of this was kept quiet until after the fact. So Fogel's mother didn't even know. And she says it was a total surprise when he called. And he said he was in the Moscow airport. So that meant they had taken him out of the prison to Moscow. She said the last week or so, for some crazy reason, I had a better feeling about things, but I hadn't heard from him in a week. So I thought that was odd. And when he called, it was just a total shock. So you can imagine what the family of Mark Fogel is going through. That's a big story this morning. Also, and we'll talk about this in detail coming up. Are federal judges intruding on Donald Trump's authority? I mean, what do you think about this? Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday instructing the Department of Government Efficiency to coordinate with federal agencies and execute massive cuts in federal government staffing numbers. He is, as you know, in his first 100 days has been very, very busy. I think doing more in his first 100 days than we have seen other presidents do in years. And he is being blocked by federal judges pretty repeatedly. There has been a federal funding freeze. And he wanted to, a pause on federal funding. And a judge then issued a temporary restraining order saying he couldn't do that. Donald Trump signed an executive order aimed at ending birthright citizenship. That was immediately blocked. The biggest one, I think, are these incentives for the resignations of federal workers, which have now also been blocked by the courts. And I'm curious, I mean, do you think federal judges at this point are intruding on the authority that Donald Trump has? So we'll talk about that coming up this morning after 7. And I welcome your emails, of course, anytime if I share things that strike you. Feel free to drop me an email anytime, greg.belfrage@kelo.com. So Donald Trump was answering questions from reporters in the Oval Office yesterday, and he said I always abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But he said, then he was talking about the judge. He said, what he has done is he slowed down momentum, and he gives crooked people more time to cover up the books. And he said, the answer is, I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and we'll appeal. But appeals take a long time. And, many of us believe that's what's actually going on here. Our Democrats and I think the swamp are just absolutely desperate to try to hide themselves and to try to slow Trump down. They don't want to see Donald Trump. They love the status quo. They love all of the money that's been this. Now, this is my own perspective on this. They love all of the money that's been flooding into the federal government and waste and fraud, and it's just overwhelming. So Donald Trump saying that he is going to abide by the courts. Jonathan Turley is somebody I greatly admire. He's a Fox News contributor, constitutional law attorney. And he said, I think that Trump is on very solid ground with the buyout. I'm still a bit baffled by what the court is doing here. If the presidents are allowed to dictate conditions of employees coming into the office, what they're working on, all of that is part of Article 2 powers of the president controlling the executive branch. He said, I'm not even today certain what the constitutional problem is. I don't think there is one. I think we have people who are operating outside of the Constitution. So Turley is saying, I'm not aware of what the constitutional problem is. And we'll talk about that. We'll get your thoughts on it coming up this morning after 7. And you've got a congresswoman from Oregon, the land of nuttiness. She wants new legislation focusing on federal work, she's got a bill called the Stop Musk Act. These people, it's just absolutely crazy. So then you had Elon Musk. Speaking of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they both were in the Oval Office. Donald Trump behind the Resolute desk. Elon Musk also there with his son. And man, didn't that, I don't know, for those of you who are older and maybe you've seen photos of Elon Musk and his young son, didn't that just, for me, immediately, it was JFK Jr. in the Oval Office when his father was president, right, playing under the desk. And we've all seen those photos, I think, those of us who are older. And I had the same impression, it was the same kind of thing that we saw yesterday. So anyway, Elon Musk defending the work of Doge, and he said the people voted for major government reform, and that's what the people are going to get. That's what democracy is all about. He said he wants to place common sense controls on the government. And one of the things Elon Musk talked about, and you're seeing this with some of the cutting that they've been doing, that you have people who are operating, really, it's the deep state. It's what you and I have called the deep state. Elon Musk is referring to it, the federal bureaucracy. The bureaucracy takes it upon themselves to do all of these certain things. And they're not being instructed to do it. They just think, oh, we want to do this. And so then you've got federal employees who undertake this. And we saw this with then, great example is the money that went to these hotels in New York. And there were a certain number of people who knew about it. And again, they were operating well outside the bounds of their authority. There were 4 people, I think, that were fired, including officials that absolutely should have known better. And so what we are seeing is just incredible. But Elon Musk, he touched on a number of things. We'll get into it in more details over the course of the morning. But he said that Doge had uncovered Social Security payments that had been dispersed to individuals who are 150 years old. And he said, that's the case where I think they are probably dead or they should be very famous. One of the two. Yeah, no kidding. 150 years old, still getting Social Security payments. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible the things that they're finding. That is a big story. We're going to talk about that coming up. Again, this morning after 7, we'll open up the phone lines. Some of the big statewide stories of this morning. Lawmakers introduced House Bill 1108, which would create a McCook Lake contingency fund. This is to help residents who were affected by that incredible flooding in McCook County. So originally the bill proposed $2 million from the state budget as a financial safety net, while they also received aid from FEMA as well as private organizations, insurance. State officials that opposed the bill, saying that funding local disaster relief sets a precedent for other lake improvement projects. And so there has been some back and forth over this. There are some McCook Lake residents that are planning to sue the state. They say that floodwater diversion efforts redirected water from the Big Sioux into the community, which made the whole thing worse. So now the bill heads to the House Appropriations Committee. That's a big statewide story this morning. Also, state lawmakers scrutinizing the governor's decision to enter into a couple of long-term leases in Sioux Falls and Rapid City. Representative Julie Osh, and am I saying that right? How do you say her last name? Is it Auk? Forgive me if I know I'm mispronouncing that. My apologies. She's introduced House Bill 1205. This would require legislative approval for state leases exceeding 15 years or $20 million. And at the center of this are these one-stop centers. At a cost of about $10 million a year. And that's a huge rent increase over what the state had been paying. And so lawmakers are really concerned about the costs and are talking about it. So there's some disagreement in regard to this. Some lawmakers, including Representative Greg Jameson, defended leasing over owning because of reduced maintenance responsibilities. And House Speaker John Hanson shared his concerns that taxpayers are getting a bad deal. So that's one for you to keep an eye on, what happens with that. Also, the Dakota Scout has a story today on the Division of Criminal Investigation. They're actively probing 3 cases involving former or current state employees suspected of criminal misconduct. And Marty Jackley said Monday, he said there are some bad actors that have lost government trust, that have reflected poorly on the good, hardworking employees. So that's one we're likely to hear more about. And we've got to talk about the U.S. penny this morning. Donald Trump earlier this week signed an executive order, and I've shared news of this and have commented on it very, very briefly over the course of this week. But Scott Bessent is the new Secretary of the Treasury, and Trump ordered him to stop production of pennies. And Trump has been on social media. He was over the weekend And this is getting a response from some of you. Debbie sent me an email yesterday. I would love to get rid of pennies. And then she goes on at length. I'll share the entire email with you this morning. And I want to get your thoughts on this because I've been intrigued by this for, all week and have meant to talk about it. So we'll talk about that coming up this morning at 8:30. We'll also talk to Jim Olander of the Sioux Falls Stampede this morning. Jim will join us just after 8, as he does every Wednesday morning. Sioux Falls Stampede are on a roll. They had a great, and they did very well over the weekend, and that was no small feat because they were facing Fargo. They had 2 games against Fargo, and the Stampede won them both. So we'll talk to Jim Olander about that. And then also this morning, we'll have a chance for you to win tickets to see the Sioux Falls Stampede coming up this Saturday. It's Pink in the Rink night. So there'll be a lot to cover with Jim Olander of the Sioux Falls Stampede. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. Really great to have you along. Also, we're going to have a chance for you this morning to win a gift card from 49th Street Liquor. So several giveaways for you coming up today outside of the Kello History Quiz. Currently, it's mostly cloudy and 1. Feels like 10 below. And you're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
Weeknights 5 to 8.
Okay.
News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Trending Stories coming up. Give you more tire and automotive store.
In today's fast-paced world, building strong business relationships is key. It's about
Good morning, by the way, to those of you watching. Nice to have you here. I appreciate it.
At Lawrence and Schiller, we're about pushing boundaries, problem solving, outthinking and outdoing the competition, and driving positive business outcomes. If you're tired of settling for subpar results, get to know us at l-s.com, where every problem has a solution and every result is extraordinary.
It's time to taste pizzeria creations from 11 different eateries in the Sioux Empire and vote for your favorite pizza. The 2025 Pizza Battle is on February 3rd through 28th, and bragging rights are on the line.
Chuck sent me an email, funny. I love your emails. Greg.Belfrage@kelo.com.
Marcos, Bosses, and Valentino's. The 2025 Pizza Battle. Taste all the pizzeria creations and vote for your favorite at Kello.com.
Excuse me.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people pay to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Light snow showers will continue through the morning hours. We're looking at around an inch of accumulation today. Probably run through a couple of slick areas too, especially on the secondary roads and the parking lots and sidewalks. We'll have temperatures fall to the teens below tonight with the cold weather advisory in effect as wind chills fall to the -30s.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, mostly cloudy and 1. It feels like 10 below currently at Kello. All right. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. We'll check in with Joe here shortly. More state employee fraud charges may be on the way. Joe will have details. Also, a bill that requires schools to let parents know if their children have expressed gender confusion. just passed out of committee, now heads to the full House for a vote. And the House has rejected a bill requiring schools to display the state motto. Joe will have details on those stories, and then I'll run down stories that are trending this morning here at Kello.
Teacher who has been held in Russia since 2021 is back on American soil, appearing alongside the president.
I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero.
Fogel was serving a 14-year prison term for possession of medical marijuana. The Kremlin says a Russian citizen will be freed by the U.S. as part of the swap. Winter weather advisories in effect from Texas to the Northeast, impacting 200 million people across 40 states. This man in Maryland.
Terrible. People sliding, getting stuck. Just back up there not too long ago, people was getting stuck. Somebody had to pull somebody out not too long ago. I mean, yeah, it's just craziness all over.
The storm delayed a midnight vote to confirm Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. It's now set for 11 a.m. Eastern. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. More state employee fraud charges may be on the way. Attorney General Marty Jackley says 3 more cases are being investigated. He says all 3 are separate from the 6 prior state employee fraud cases from last year. Jackley has introduced a number of bills to lawmakers in Pierre that deal with government accountability. The House Education Committee narrowly passed a bill that requires schools to let parents know if their children have expressed gender confusion or dysphoria. It also prohibits school staff from encouraging students to explore their gender identity. Supporters say the bill aims to promote transparency between parents and schools. Opponents of the bill, including a number of school counselors, say they're concerned with the students' privacy and safety. The bill now moves to the House floor for a vote. The South Dakota House has rejected a bill requiring schools to display the state motto. It would have required public schools to show, "Under God, the people rule," or the state seal in classrooms. The motto bill failed 30 to 38. Service to Washington, D.C. may be in the near future for the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. Executive Director Dan Letlier says the possibility reconfirms the need to expand the airport's facilities. He shared with downtown Sioux Falls Rotarians a message he began delivering late last year. The airport needs more gates.
Going off to the south, we can add initially 5 gates or 4 new gates that would take us well down the road for additional capacity.
Sioux Falls Regional Airport had over 700,000 boardings last year. Letlier says demand is growing. And in college basketball, both men's and women's Augustana Vikings teams fell to the Sioux Falls Cougars last night. And tonight, the Coyotes women's team hosts Kansas City, and the Jackrabbits women's team are in Fargo to take on North Dakota State. The Lady Jacks are 11-0 in Summit League action. Both games tip off at 7. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
With our light snow this morning, you'll probably drive through a couple of slick areas. Give yourself some extra time for the morning drive. Well, the high temperature near 8 today with light snow showers continuing, around an inch of accumulation. Down to 17 below tonight, a light north wind, a decrease in cloud cover. Cold weather advisory in effect for tonight. From the Storm Center, I'm Scott Lyons.
Entertaining talk and news when it happens. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9 and Kello.com.
Right now, no laws in America regulate the development of artificial intelligence, and DeepSeek is all we need to know to keep it that way. I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. Download the CFO's Guide to Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/Kim. Communist China's DeepSeek was unveiled only 3 weeks ago, and here's what we know. DeepSeek uses American-made NVIDIA processor chips, but not NVIDIA's fastest and most powerful chips. But DeepSeek is faster than ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and all the others. So how do they do it? By lying. China is using more AI chips than they admit, and more means faster. Plus, they're using ChatGPT to train DeepSeek. China knows that AI is the world's future. In the early 90s, we didn't shackle the infant internet with burdensome laws. If America is to remain the world's AI leader, we must follow our own example from 40 years ago. Always be tech ahead by getting my free newsletter. You can sign up right now at getkim.com. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. Rates rising or falling, inflation being up or down. Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 41,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP.
All right.
Accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backward and more time on what's next. And speaking of opportunity, you can now download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Kim. The guide is free for you at netsuite.com/Kim. That's netsuite.com/Kim. netsuite.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
Are you tired of chronic pain, fatigue, and sleepless nights caused by fibromyalgia? Discover relief with hyperbaric oxygen therapy at Midwest Hyperbarics. Don't let fibromyalgia control your life. Visit MidwestHyperbarics.com.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today. ABC Seamless.
Hey, a word from my friends at 49th Street Liquor. They're at the corner of 49th Street in Minnesota. That's where your happy hour starts. And right now, they've got a Valentine's Day special going on. They've got Cook's Champagne for $6.88. Corbel Champagne for $12.88. So if you're looking for something special for Valentine's Day, you're going to find it at 49th Street Liquor. They've got a lot of things I think that you'll really love, whether it's beer, wine, spirits. You'll find it at 49th Street Liquor. They get a beautiful, and it's huge, walk-in beer cave, including a good selection of local beers that are there as well. So again, if you got any kind of special event, whether it is Valentine's Day, whether it's St. Patrick's Day coming up, you'll find what you need, or you're going to find things that you like at 49th Street Liquor. Be sure to check out their Dakota Butcher products, fresh meats and steaks, and they're absolutely delicious. So your happy hour starts at the new 49th Street Liquor at 49th and Minnesota.
By the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Entertaining talk, news when it happens.
That's what you'll always get on Kello Radio, and you can even get more at Kello.com.
In-depth stories, podcasts, and more.
For more of South Dakota, go to Kello.com. Kello News Talk 1320 10.
638. Mostly cloudy and 1. It feels like 10 below. You know, I was just telling you about 49th Street Liquor, and if you have not been there yet, this is your chance. Be caller number 7 right now at 605-336-1320. Caller number 7, and you'll win a $10 gift card to 49th Street Liquor. So be caller number 7 right now. Don't wait. 605-336-1320. And if you're caller 7, you win a $10 gift card to 49th Street Liquor. So give us a shout right now.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Top trending story this morning. I don't think you'll be surprised. It's Mark Fogel being freed by Russia. It's American Mark Fogel. He'd been held in Russia since he was arrested on drug charges in 2021. He had a small amount of medicinal marijuana with him. And so he was returned to the United States yesterday, had an American flag draped over his shoulders. He arrived at the White House then last night, was welcomed by President Trump. He had been serving a 14-year prison sentence in a Russian prison colony. He'd been arrested in 2021 on drug charges. And Fogel he said, I am not a hero. President Donald Trump is a hero, he said. And as you might imagine, he was overcome with emotion, as his family has been, understandably so. So Fogel thanked his family, including his mother, it was his mother who had made his case to Trump at the Butler, Pennsylvania campaign rally last year. Then he also thanked Steve Witkoff, who is President Trump's Middle East envoy. And Witkoff played a big role in negotiating Fogel's release. 3.5 years in a Russian prison now. This is before his release. At this point, not talking about it not giving a lot of information about it, but he did say every day was a challenge, but then he needed time to be able to talk about it. He said he had received over 400 injections while imprisoned, but he didn't say for what or why. And Trump didn't discuss the negotiations. He said, I can only say this. We got a man home whose mother and family wanted him desperately. And this is there was another story at Fox News this morning, and this is trending, that Russia is saying that U.S. relations are on the brink of a breakup. So this is one of the Russian deputy foreign minister who made the announcement at a news conference Monday, and saying that Vladimir Putin's regime suggested that relations between Washington, D.C. and Moscow are on the brink of collapse this week. So you had that story coming out. That was a conversation going on Monday. That story's actually trending. And then immediately followed by the release of Mark Fogel yesterday. Kind of makes it hard to believe anything you hear from Russia, doesn't it? I mean, it should be anyway, but we're on the brink of collapse. And then here they're releasing Mark Fogel. So something apparently is working. Also, trending this morning, members of Israel's security cabinet fully supporting Donald Trump's demand that Hamas release all hostages by noon on Saturday. It's been a big story this week, and Israel's security cabinet fully behind this now. This is after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened the security cabinet yesterday after Hamas announced that they would delay the next release. And Netanyahu said in a statement, the decision I passed in the cabinet unanimously is this: if Hamas does not return our hostages by Saturday noon, the ceasefire will end and the IDF will resume intense combat until Hamas is decisively defeated, he said. And he said, in light of the announcement by Hamas to violate the agreement and not release our hostages, I instructed the IDF last night to amass forces inside and around the Gaza Strip. This operation is currently underway and will be completed as soon as possible. So we may see more if they do not release more fighting, if we do not see those hostages released by the Saturday deadline. Also, Jordan's King Abdullah II yesterday had a meeting with President Donald Trump, and he reiterated his country's steadfast opposition to Donald Trump's plan to resettle millions of Palestinians out of Gaza. And so King Abdullah said, I stressed my foremost commitment is to Jordan, to its stability and the well-being of Jordanians. But then he also had agreed to take in over 2,000 Palestinian children from Gaza who are very sick or have cancer. And then he reiterated his longstanding position against, displacing millions of Palestinians from their homes, as Donald Trump has suggested. And Trump is doubling and tripling down on that since he initially floated it. Also, now a third federal judge has temporarily blocked Donald Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship for children of illegal immigrants. So that ruling came from a U.S. district judge in New Hampshire, follows similar rulings from judges in Washington and Maryland, and certainly seems that that's on its way to review by the U.S. Supreme Court, which is what many of us believe what he was after in the first place. Also, both this is a piece from the Blaze that's trending. President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance seem to be gearing up for a battle about the separation of powers after weighing in on whether the federal judiciary should be able to curtail executive authority. And this happened over the weekend. A judge that issued a ruling blocking Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency from gaining access to the payment system of the Treasury Department, which falls under the purview of the executive branch. Can the judicial branch then? That's a big question. We're going to talk about that coming up this morning after 7. Also, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order against the Trump administration. Here we go again. Preventing the White House from deleting additional information from several government health websites. Numerous pages belonging to Health and Human Services, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the FDA, had been deleted after President Trump took office. And those were due to one of Trump's executive orders ordering government agencies to limit discussions of sex and gender to male and female. And so now a judge, again, intervening, saying that these pages have to be restored. So we'll talk about what's going on with judicial authority right now. Get your thoughts on it. Open up our phone lines after 7. Also, a federal appeals court yesterday dismissed criminal proceedings against 2 of the co-defendants of Donald Trump's in the Florida classified documents case. They have dropped their appeal and dismissed all charges against Walton Nauta and the property manager of Mar-a-Lago. So now they've completely dropped the charges. Meanwhile, you've got Steve Bannon, who is the former Donald Trump White House chief strategist. Steve Bannon pled guilty yesterday in connection with a plot to defraud donors for building the U.S. southern U.S. border wall. So he was charged in September of 22 for working with an organization then that had raised millions of dollars to privately fund the wall. So Bannon pled guilty to 1 state count of scheming to defraud. So he won't serve time in jail. No time in jail. So he's pleading guilty, but no jail time. And he is saying this fight is not over. What's going on in the federal government and the way that he and others have been targeted. Also, I've shared this news with you before, but it's trending this morning. FEMA handing out $59 million to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal immigrants. And Elon Musk said this on Monday, talked about this. And he said the Doge team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order. He said that money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. So that story is trending. Also, number of people who watch the Super Bowl is out. It rose to 127.7 million people who watched the Super Bowl. In fact, that was the biggest TV audience of all time. Biggest TV audience of all time watching the Super Bowl. Fox reports that average viewership during the halftime show was even higher, reaching 133.5 million, which was another all-time high. So the adjusted total for the most watched piece of the telecast, which was the second quarter of the game. That was the part I was telling you about that I happened to see. The second quarter, 137.7 million viewers. So the Super Bowl achieving its biggest audience ever for the second year in a row. Also, some tuna cans that have been sold at Trader Joe's, Walmart, and some other supermarkets have the tuna manufacturer has issued a countrywide recall of its products over a design concern. I would say so, could potentially cause botulism. Tri-Union Seafoods initiated the recall earlier this month. So again, these are tuna cans that were sold at Trader Joe's, Walmart, some other supermarkets as well. And they're recalling them because of a potentially fatal flaw. Also, we have the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, testifying before the Senate Banking Committee yesterday. He said the central bank doesn't need to be in a hurry to make any further cuts in interest rates, he said. So he said that with the strong job market and with inflation still elevated, he and his colleagues do not need to be in a hurry to cut interest rates. He also fielded questions about Donald Trump's economic policies and the Fed's own bank supervision, and he tried to steer clear of politics. He also talked about Trump's tariffs policies that might put more pressure on prices, and which would make it even harder then for the Fed to lower rates. Also, Kanye West, his talent agency has dropped him as a client after he posted dozens of anti-Semitic messages online. He was also selling swastika t-shirts on his fashion brand's website. In fact, Shopify is shuttered now. The Yeezy website, that's what it was called. And I think the only item that was there was this swastika t-shirt was the only item you could purchase there. And so Shopify has shuttered the Yeezy website and the t-shirts. Also, Google confirming the Gulf of Mexico has been renamed to the on Google Maps. Now it's the Gulf of America. So they have changed the name, but only for American users, Google says. So they're trying to appease Donald Trump by changing American maps. Also, a Google spokesperson said the company will continue to celebrate and promote cultural moments in their products, but they have removed references to Pride Month, Black History Month, and all cultural heritage months on its web and mobile applications. They're now choosing to display only public federal holidays and national observances, which is a relief to me. I don't know how you feel about that. Also trending this morning, you remember the Chinese spy balloon? That was down during the Biden administration, eventually shot down over the coast of South Carolina then. Well, that was recovered, and now military analysts who dismantled the balloon say it was loaded with American-made satellite communications modules and sophisticated sensors from at least 5 different U.S. companies. So chances are good we may be hearing about that again. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. And I want to congratulate Otto Garcia. Otto won that gift card to 49th Street Liquor. Hey, Otto, thanks a million for listening, my friend. We'll have another chance for you to win a gift card from them coming up tomorrow. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
First name in news.
Thank you, my friend, for being here. Appreciate it. Please return at 9:30 for the 4th hour, or you can catch it on YouTube at your convenience. So hope to see you again soon. So long.
Understand that your company's operating account is one of your most important financial